Welcome to this edition of Go Vote Omaha, presented by the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization and does not endorse political candidates or parties. The League does, however, take positions on issues. Our purpose is to empower voters and defend democracy. Go Vote Omaha primarily focuses on policy issues, and as a result of our discussions, we hope you will feel ready to make informed decisions at election time. I'm Jeanne McKenzie, President of the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, and your host for today's program. Today we are talking with our friend from the League of Women Voters of Nebraska about the upcoming elections and what may be on your ballot. Joining us today is Vote411 Administrator for the League of Women Voters of Nebraska and editor of Douglas County Voters Guide, Jeanne Miller. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
To begin, could you please tell us what Vote411 is and how you are involved in it?
Vote411 is an online platform that allows candidates to register their responses to questions that we ask of them. But more than that, it's a resource for voters to find out how to register to vote. What about voter ID? Where's your polling place? What are some ballot issues? And other pieces of information that the League or the leagues here in Nebraska have seen fit to submit to Vote411. What we do here in Douglas County might be a little bit different than what they do in Lancaster County, and each of the leagues is welcome to add just a little bit of personalization to the larger Vote411.
And is Vote411 just exclusive to Nebraska, or is it across the nation?
It is across the nation. I think at this point there are over 500 databases included in Vote411. I think most of them are in Texas based on the chatter that I'm getting, but we've got Nebraska, North Dakota, Texas, the smaller municipalities. For example, Omaha is part of the Vote411 platform. It is nationwide.
So a great resource no matter where you may live.
That's right.
Can you tell us a little bit about, as Vote411 covers a lot of elections and issues, how did the candidates get contacted and what happens if a candidate doesn't respond?
All right. We chose which candidates statewide that we were going to contact. So I have to back up a little bit. Douglas County, in the form of the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, has been doing this for a while, and that league contacts every candidate that will be on the ballot somewhere in Douglas County. Lancaster County, with the Lincoln-Lancaster League, also went and got every race from the top to the bottom. We decided as a Nebraska league that we weren't going to be able to get anything below the county level unless we had local help. So we got 56 pages of candidates from the Secretary of State's office. And then we went through that and we said certain races need to have a little more attention paid to them than other races. Everyone on the federal ticket received a postcard, an email, a text, one or more phone calls, Facebook messages, LinkedIn messages, any way that we could find to contact a candidate. Some of those candidates below the federal level didn't get quite so much attention. If they were in a smaller, let's say a public power district, and there were no opponents running. We had 3 districts, 3 candidates. They've all been on the ballot for the past 20 years. We decided that we weren't going to contact them, but if they did provide in their filing an email address, we invited them to take part in Vote411. So in a nutshell, that's how every candidate that shows up in Vote411 was researched and contacted.
Excellent. And speaking of the variety of elections, what are the elections that are covered overall, like specific to the general election?
I'm going to get a cheat sheet out for that, because there are a lot of issues and candidates and races. We've got 600 candidates in Vote 411 representing 480 races. And we, as the league, contact the presidential candidates. Now, I don't do that. That's the U.S. League does that.
Sure.
But we got in touch with everybody on the federal ticket, which would be our senators, that special senatorial election, so that we decide who fills the rest of that term that Ben Sass gave up. Our House of Representatives, those are every 2 years, all of those. So below that, we have the Public Service Commission. Those are the people that take care of all the utilities, broadband, railroad, those kinds of things. The odd-numbered state legislative districts. Since we have 49 legislative districts, that means we had 25 people to contact. 4 State Board of Education races, the Board of Regents, all of the community college boards of education, all the way from western Nebraska, the Western Community College, up to Northeast Community College up near Norfolk, to Metropolitan Community College right here in Omaha. So, all of them. All of the natural resource districts, there are 23 of them, all of the public power districts, and the educational service units, which act as a liaison between the State Board of Education and the individual school districts. Now from there, if we looked at the county level, that was Lancaster and Douglas, we looked at county commissioners, and we took a look at any county races that are in play this session. All of the smaller towns have mayoral and city council races, and most of the jurisdictions within Lancaster and Omaha have school board races. So those were covered as well. And I know I've rambled on and on. I just want to let people know that we paid attention, and we try to get everybody that touches on a voter somewhere in the state of Nebraska.
And that's fabulous. There's certainly more opportunity to get more. We just need more people to get involved and engaged in this kind of opportunity.
Definitely.
So does Vote 411 cover the ballot initiatives?
Oh, yes, it does. Not only the Nebraska initiatives, the 6 that will be on the ballot, there's 1 in Lancaster County, and there are, I have to count again, I think 15 on this for the city of Omaha. Okay.
There's city bonds and some charter items, I believe.
Right. So I think that's 9 plus the 6 equals the 15. So we do cover all of the ballot initiatives statewide, and then on the county level, any initiatives or bonds that are there on the county level or for any of the towns or cities in that county.
I've heard that this one, for if you're a resident of city of Omaha, might be one of the longest ballots that we've had.
Yes, I have been with the Election Commission doing some training for the upcoming elections. For a resident of the city of Omaha, there will be 2 pieces of paper, front and back, and voters need to remember to turn it to the other side. There's plenty to vote on both sides of 2 pieces of paper. Mine in Douglas County was only 3 pages long, front and back and front.
Excellent. We'll be filling a lot of dots in, depending where you live. You are also editor of the Douglas County Voters Guide that is a print edition in both English and Spanish. How does this differ from Vote 411?
Well, I took the liberty of bringing the English and the longer Spanish versions of the Voters Guide. The way that they differ is that all of the information is there as you're flipping through. If you use Vote411, you can get a sample ballot that drills down to the races, the candidates on your ballot. This, you have to know who your people are. For example, Board of Directors, Papio, Missouri River, NRD, subdistricts 1, 3, 5, 7, 9 are in here. You need to know ahead of time who you should be looking for. Although we do put a bunch of information in here that I think is really handy. Tips for voting by mail.
Excellent.
What you need to know about the new voter ID law and how to make a plan to go voting. And I'd like to talk about that, but I'll wait till the end when you've got all your questions.
All right. And with the voter's guide, and can people take that in when they go to vote?
Yes.
Or what resources may they be allowed to take in?
They certainly can take this in. What I would suggest, however, I've been working elections for a while, and I know at the very popular polling sites where there's normally a 45-minute line to vote after work, it's going to be an hour to an hour and a half long. As a courtesy to your fellow citizens, perhaps take this information and put it on a piece of paper. Put it on your phone. You are allowed to use a cell phone so long as you don't talk on it. You may not call a friend and ask for who to vote for. You are allowed to look on the phone, the piece of paper, the voter's guide, whatever you need that helps you make a decision. And in fairness to the people in line behind you, a fairly quick decision. Like I said, there's going to be front, back in Omaha. And if you've got 50 people out the door, I think it's a good idea to have that ahead of time.
And certainly to be prepared, and that's also why some people choose to do the vote by mail option. So get the early ballot so they can use the guide and do it at their leisure without holding up anybody, hopefully. So.
Well, it's interesting because since I put this together, when I got my ballot, I went, and my husband took this.
Very good.
And then he's flipping through, and I'm saying, okay, on this page and this page. But it took him a little longer.
Yeah, it certainly would. So where can we find the printed version of the voter's guide?
I happen to know that they're at my local library, which is an Omaha Public Library. All of the Omaha Public Libraries have the English editions, and some of them have the Spanish editions. And if that library is out, they're supposed to get them right in. They've got a procedure to refill those racks. Douglas County Election Commission has them. The Jewish Community Center, I know, has some. Heartland Workers Center, Civic Nebraska. Trying to think, Omaha Star might. I know that our volunteers with Greater Omaha have been taking bundles and bundles of these out because people are asking for them.
And I know we have in the office as well received calls for them, and we do have them at our office at 19th and Harney as well. But if people have places or businesses they want to see them, we can certainly connect and bring some by because we want to have access to the people.
I'd be happy to take some.
Excellent. We appreciate that. Thank you. So tell us a little bit about how people can prepare to vote in their district. What does that look like when you get ready to make your voting plan?
Okay. On the back, and I will do the English version because I'm told that my Spanish pronunciation is just terrible. I can't roll my R's. First off, everyone needs to know that the general election is November 5th. I've seen some different dates out there in different sources. It is Tuesday, November 5th. In Nebraska, the times are 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Central Time, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Mountain Time. I can't tell you how many voters I've seen waiting in line at 8 a.m. who are yelling at the poor people still setting up voting booths saying, but in Iowa it is, Nebraska's 8 to 8, 7 to 7, depending. So you have to know the date, you have to know the time, you have to be registered to vote. And if you want to do that online, you better get busy because the deadline is tomorrow.
And tomorrow is Friday, October 18th.
That's right. And if you want to do it in person, it is next Friday, October 25th. I saw a little news article today that there were people in line to register to vote that just found out that they could vote.
Excellent.
And they had to wait 20 minutes in line. I'm going to suggest that if you still need to register, you do it right away. The longer you wait, the longer the line. Nebraska has a voter ID law, and that's new as of April. And at the primary, most people knew to bring their voter ID. Driver's license, concealed carry permits, I saw a bunch of those. Student ID, so long as it is issued by a Nebraska institution. It's got to have a picture, and it's got to have your name on it. I can still use my ID from 20 years ago. It's expired. It doesn't have an address on it, but I still look pretty much the same. Now, if you're a gentleman and you've lost your hair, use a more current ID. And students have been asking me, well, I've got my ID on my phone. No, you actually have to use a card.
And is the student ID both the public and the private institutions in the state, or is it just the public institutions?
For high school students, it must be public. For college students, Creighton is a private university. That counts. So
Okay.
I think that answers that one.
That does clarify that. Thank you.
So you have your voter ID in your hand. Don't put it on the kitchen table and walk up to the polling place. You can still vote. It's going to take 20 minutes or so filling out the paperwork to do that. And then you have to go into the election commission and then show the ID. It's just take it with you.
Put it in your pocket.
A lot of people did not vote in the primary, and they are expecting in excess of 75% participation. So that is more than 3 times what we saw at the primary. So people might not know about that voter ID. It's new. Bring it with you. If you do not have a driver's license, student ID, there are other forms of identification. We've got this in the voter guide. And then we've got resources to tell you where to go to get a voter ID if you don't already have one. Once you have that voter ID, you don't have to wait in line on election day.
You don't have to?
No.
Well, what can you do?
Well, I'm one of these people. I'm never at my polling place on election day. I'm working the election somewhere else. I get a vote by mail ballot or an early voting ballot. I fill it out, and I'm cheap. I don't want to pay for a stamp. Luckily for me, drop boxes around the county, there's 13 of them. There are 2 of them pretty close to where I do my normal set of errands, so I put my ballot in there. Those are cleared out every night by the Election Commission, and I tracked mine. They've already accepted it.
Excellent.
Well,
Very good.
They've accepted the envelope.
So they haven't counted it yet.
They have not counted my ballot yet. So if you cannot vote early, and there's we've got all sorts of information here. Plan your day. First thing in the morning at 8 o'clock, it's busy. And then the retirees come out at 9 o'clock. 10 o'clock, it kind of calms down. 2 o'clock, it kind of calms down. Right after work gets out, it's crazy busy until about 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. If you cannot wait in line for a long time, for example, I've had knee surgery, and I know you can't stand for an hour. And if you don't think that you can find a place to sit in that line, go to the Election Commission. They're nice. They give you chairs, they give you a number, and you can just go through the line.
So on November 5th, Election Day, can you go to the Election Commission office and vote?
No, you can't. And here's the other thing. You cannot take your early voting ballot to the Election Commission or to your polling place and hand it over. You have to use a drop box. And for those people that say, oh, okay, I'm just going to vote, don't do that. Because when you signed up to vote early, they made a note in the book that says, nope. And then you will spend 20 minutes filling out a form and re-registering to vote and hoping that you did it right so that your vote counts.
Excellent. Lots of things to think about as we go to plan our trip to the ballot box or do our early voting.
Yes.
Anything else you'd like to continue to add?
Important thing, Vote411, the voter's guide, research your candidates, read up on the ballot initiatives. That language is very confusing. It's in legalese, and I know of 2 ballot measures that are very, very similar, and you need to read that. Because if you don't know what you're voting for, you might vote for the thing that does not align with your values.
Absolutely. And certainly there's items that are going to be in the Constitution, have the potential to be in the Constitution, not just a law.
Right. And the City of Omaha bonds, they get to be confusing, and the charter amendments. So the nice thing in the voter guide and on Vote411, we have a little explanatory text there, and we worked really hard to make sure that that was just facts. Nothing else, no opinion, just facts.
So the challenge I always have when I go to select and on my ballots is the judges. I don't know anything about the judges. So how do we find out information about the judges?
Judges, I get a lot of questions, and as a matter of fact, I took part in this very long and heated discussion on Nextdoor. If you don't know about Nextdoor, it's a social media app, and it's supposed to be for my dog is lost. Can somebody help find it? And can somebody recommend a plumber because my sink won't drain? Every once in a while, it veers off into the strange. Lawyers interact with these judges, and they have a Nebraska bar poll, and so they rate them as to communication and promptness and quality of their legal decisions, and they rate them.
Okay.
And they say on a score 1 to 5, are they any good at being a judge? And at the end, they sum it up and they say yes, no, in a percentage. And I will tell you, 80% is a passing grade in most places. 70% if you've got a nice teacher, and if you've got a 30%, no, you failed. So voters can look, and I've got those links there and
Excellent.
in Vote411, but that's not the only source. If you're a news junkie like I am, you'll say, oh, I heard that judge's name. You can do an internet search, put that name in there, and it'll pop up and you go, oh, I agreed with that, or, oh.
Depending on the rulings and
Right.
such to cases.
But I wouldn't go to Nextdoor and ask them because I didn't find them to be nonpartisan or impartial.
So with that, is there any additional things you'd like to make sure to share since you have been involved, especially since you've been involved at the Election Day activities and as, what is it called again? It's not a captain, but it's
I'm a district supervisor.
District supervisor, thank you. Any other good tidbits that we should know as voters before we come in on November 5th?
Be nice to the people that are working.
Sure.
Most of them are drafted. Most of them don't have as much experience as someone such as myself does. They're there trying to get through the day. But the overarching goal of all of this is to get people who should be able to vote to actually vote. I'm absolutely passionate about that. Whether or not there are this party, that's not germane. They are a citizen of the United States, they're entitled to vote, and that's my job, is to help.
Excellent.
Either here or when I'm making my rounds.
And that's certainly what the League of Women Voters is all about, is helping people to get registered, to get educational information as they prepare to vote. Well, thank you, Jeanne, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Jan.
We appreciate all the great wisdom and experience that you've shared with us as we prepare for our November 5th general election. And for the League of Women Voters of Greater Omaha, I'm Jeanne McKenzie, reminding you to inform yourself about the issues and candidates and be ready to go vote Omaha.